I'm Dana J. Francois, and you're listening to Stirring the Plot. Whether you're gay, hot, or doing it for the plot, this is the podcast for you. We're here and we're queer, we're gay, and we slay. And okay, so before you say anything, yes, I know, I disappeared. Not off the face of the earth, just off the grid, off the algorithm, off of your feed. I ghosted my own podcast, like it was my toxic ex, because life, it grabbed me by the collar and said, baby girl, it is time to transform. And transform I did. Yeah, I've cried in campus bathrooms, I've handed in final papers with 45 seconds left on the clock. I've had professors accidentally flirt with my soul. I've unblocked, reblocked, and deleted people who once held power over me. I've healed. I've had breakdowns and eyeliner and glow-ups and sweats. I have become someone my past self wouldn't just be proud of. She'd gasp. But I know that you guys deserve answers. So, what if I told you I disappeared for the plot? What if I told you I had to step back from the mic to earn the degree, to live the story, and come back to the mic a little bit wiser, a whole lot hotter, and a whole identity louder, and ready to talk my shit? Because listeners, I graduated for the plot. So this episode is your life update, your sign from the universe, and your formal invite into the next era of chaos and clarity. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the tea. Life hit me like a plot twist no one warned me about. Final papers, existential crisis, creative burnout, and every kind of what the fuck am I doing with my life question imaginable. I was spinning plates trying to keep the vibes alive, the GPA alive, my sanity alive, and honestly, something had to give. And spoiler alert, it was the podcast. I didn't mean to ghost, I just evaporated. Like a situationship when you ask what are we? Gone, without warning, leaving behind nothing but vibes and confusion. But trust me when I say that behind the silence, there was a lot going on. There were all-nighters, study breakdowns, 3 a.m. journaling sessions, and me negotiating with our Lord and Savior, Robin, Rihanna, Fenty, like, God, if you get me through this group project, I swear I'll never complain about Canvas again. But that's a lie. I'm still complaining. And do, and did, and will. But there was also growth. So much growth. The kind of growth that doesn't always look cute when it's happening, but it's necessary, unfiltered, and undeniably for the plot. So listeners, before I ever picked up a mic or submitted a poem, I wore a cheer uniform. I know, shocking, right? Lore that I never dropped before. Dana J. Francois was in fact a competition cheerleader in high school. But that was like a million years and 3 sexualities ago. That identity very briefly followed me to college. So yeah, my first year at PC, I was literally on the cheer team. Go Bears or whatever. But very quickly, I traded my pom-poms for a pen. Because something in me knew that my voice, it wasn't meant to echo someone else's cheer. It was meant to build a rhythm of its own. And I found that rhythm through writing, through late night editing sessions, through staying after meetings with the creative writing club that became my first real home on campus, through bearing my soul on a mic at PC's Rising's first Friday poetry showcase back in 2019. That was my first time performing a poem in public, and I haven't stopped since. From competitions like the College District's Artists of Promise, where I placed in 2019, 2020, and 2024, to seeing my work in PC's Literary and Arts magazine that will be releasing this fall for anyone who wants to grab a copy, and Maricopa's larger collection, to being featured in exhibitions in California through Curious Publishing in the arts area. Suddenly, this voice that once felt too loud or too much for the world was being heard. It was being seen, and it was being held. And that didn't happen in a vacuum. It was PC. It was the people. It was those spontaneous hallway conversations with other writers, those open mic nights that felt more like group therapy, those professors who didn't just read my work but felt it. They challenged me to go deeper, to write from the wound, not just the scar. And because of PC, I made so many connections that led me to community building and advocacy. I wrote so many pieces, award-winning pieces pieces for feminist issues, the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd, 2020 pandemic, everything like that. Co-led a writing workshop for 75 juniors and seniors of color at ASU. I've mentored youth at Phonetic Spit Slams and watched them turn pain into power. I've read poems in bodegas, bookstores, rooftops, and backyards, at Firebird, at Fruity Poetry, at Ghost Poetry. Every poem, every performance, every shaky hand open mic night, it shaped me into the writer I am today. A poet, yes, but also a teacher, a listener, a believer in what art can do for community. Phoenix College wasn't just where I got an education. It's where I built community. It's where I found my voice. It's where I built the confidence to say I belong in this space, even when the world tried to convince me otherwise. And the thing is, I wouldn't be here behind this mic on this podcast if it weren't for that very first moment that I dared to write something honest and let it be heard. So yeah, I did come to PC as a cheerleader, but I'm leaving as a storyteller. And speaking of storytelling, let me jump into the PC extended universe. PC was a journey, listeners. Like I said earlier, it shaped me as a writer, a performer, and a community advocate. But let's not pretend that was all that it shaped. Because listeners, the character development, the side quests, the situationships, I didn't just graduate with a degree. I graduated with plot lines. Let's unpack a few. Let's start with my very first friend I made at PC. We met in 2018. Day one, the bond was instant, and from there it was us against the syllabus. I'm not gonna dive into all of the lore here, because if you've been listening for a while, you already know the lore. And if you don't, well, I have a whole episode coming out soon on why that relationship is now in the past tense. Just know this. It mattered, it meant a lot, and it taught me about love, grief, and what it means to let go with grace. Now, Panera Boy. So listen, listeners. Panera Boy was already attending PC when I met him. Technically through work, but let's be honest, the plot was cooking way before the Panera Bread ever was. That was such a lame joke, I'm sorry. Anyways, we were each other's long-term FWB, friends with benefits situationship, and the only benefit I walked away with, it was a full confirmation of my lesbian identity. It did take some time though, but still, shout out to him for pushing me out of the closet via sheer heterosexual exhaustion. Thank you for your service, Panera Boy. And also, never again. I will absolutely be unpacking that chaotic romance arc in a future Misadventures in Dating episode because the lore is endless. And speaking of endless lore, there's the scientist. We actually met during the pandemic. She was attending ASU. I was still a PC student, but I was plugged into the ASU writing community for a long time. I had been. And we met through mutuals. At first, it was friendly. Started platonically, but later it evolved into something more. We matched on an app, we dated twice actually, and if you know, then you know. She's the ex who cheated on me. But that story I am saving for another time too, and don't get mad at me, okay? Please. The entire episode is currently in the works. You guys will be receiving it before you know it. A Pride Month special, if you will. But for now, just know there are some stories where the foreshadowing hits a little too hard. Oh, God. Also, story time. This literally just popped into my head. But my first year at PC, I took a communications class. The professor, he was a young and nerdy hot type of guy. Like, you know, very, very nerdy hot. I don't know how to, like, you know, I think you guys know what I mean when I say like nerdy hot. But he was young, probably 24, you know, like fresh off of, actually, you have to have your master's, so maybe he was like 25, 26, I don't know, but he was young. And at that time, I was still cosplaying as straight. Like, this was my very first year, very much still in the closet, like, before the ASU softball player even. So yeah, the closet was my sanctuary at this point. But anyways, the lore, I definitely matched with that communications professor on Tinder. Yeah, the professor. So that's a thing that I now have to live with. We never talked about it, obviously, but it was giving very much Rate My Professor meets Rate Me on Tinder. I deleted the app and joined the gay agenda very shortly after. I mean, not exactly in that order, but you get the picture. Listeners. Now, let me tell you about this guy from one of my classes. We'll call him the Stan, because he was giving fanboy energy. Listen, listeners, he was a trip. He was a classmate who was very much into me. We were in class together this last fall semester, and you guys already know that I walk into rooms carrying lesbian energy so loud that it echoes. No, genuinely, I swear to you, it's like I walk around with a sign that screams I'm gay, like rainbow emoji, microphone emoji, sapphic Carrie Bradshaw levels of gay. Anyway, he used to compliment my outfits in class, which valid because I ate, literally ate down. But then he followed me on Instagram and somehow found my podcast, which is the gayest podcast ever. Hello, read the room. We hadn't even spoken, but anyways, listeners, he proceeds one time in class, he proceeds to do this like full deep dive of my Instagram, like a review of it to my face. Like, hey, so that's insane. Like, sir, not the oral dissertation on my sapphic online footprint. And then he hits me with the DM. Something along the lines of, hey, you want to grab food after class sometime? Like, sir, be so serious. Asking me if I was down to eat. I honestly wanted to say, I'm more down to eat than you know, which was a lesbian joke, obviously. But anyways, I did end up telling him I was gay. I did it kindly and clearly, and yet, man stayed persistent. He kept flirting anyway, still likes all of my stories to this day. Honestly, I respect the delusion, because that's fan behavior. And finally, kitten heels. Now that one can't fully be explained, so if you know, you know, and if you don't, you'll probably never fully know. Let's just say that some stories live in the subtext. Sometimes the plot is slow burn, silent, unresolved, the kind of story that exists in the margins, and maybe that's where it's always meant to stay. Whew, what a story. Maybe I'll write about it someday. Listeners, there were so many side characters in the journey that was PC. Classmates, crushes, creative co-conspirators. Some were there for a semester, some stuck around for seasons, some stayed, some didn't. But each one added something to the chaos and the beauty of the plot. And honestly, I think that's what makes it so rich. Every classmate, every almost crush, mistaken Tinder swipe, unexpected heartbreak, and chaotic friend helped shape the main character I am today. PC wasn't just the setting of this academic life. It was the backdrop for love, heartbreak, queer awakening, situationships, and sisterhood. It was messy, it was magical, but it was mine. So yeah, I graduated. But I also survived the sapphic situation multiverse, collected character development like extra credits or infinity stones, and came out the other side a whole degree hotter. Plot stirred. Degree secured. Delusions still a little active, but listeners, we made it. Now, let's talk about graduation for a second, because when I tell you I earned that piece of paper, I earned that piece of paper, not just with essays and exams, but with tears and therapy and a whole lot of self-interrogation. Walking across that stage felt like closing a chapter I wrote in blood, sweat, and Google Docs. I mean, I didn't just graduate from school, I graduated from a version of myself that I had outgrown. The people-pleasing, the staying small to make others comfortable, the fear of being too much. I graduated with honors. I graduate with honors, you know? Like, literally. A first-generation Haitian Islander making my ancestors proud. I am a degree-holding baddie, but other than heading to the teacher's college, I really don't know what's next. And honestly, I think that's kind of the point. Because what I do know is this. I am no longer living to prove something. I'm living to feel something, to create something, to be something, even if it's messy, bold, and confusing. Also, can we please talk about the glow up? Because yes, the degree is cute, but what's really giving is the emotional hot girl era that I have entered. I've been softening into myself, reclaiming my voice, letting go of people who saw my light but still asked me to dim it. This time away truly gave me space to feel things I was too busy to process. Grief, anger, relief, desire, clarity. I have been having these main character moments in silence, writing poetry in notes at perjury, falling in love with my own mind again, realizing that the way I narrate my life is power. And now I'm back. Not just to update you, but to remind you and myself that disappearing, it isn't failure. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's survival. Sometimes it is sacred. So what does that mean for the podcast? It means new energy, new stories, more chaos, more queerness, more, this might be oversharing, but I'm gonna say it anyway, moments. We are diving deeper. We're talking love, loss, longing, lust, boundaries, betrayal, healing, and hot girl summer. Plot girl summer, if you will. We are reclaiming softness as strength. We're letting things be messy and still worth telling. Seriously, listeners, I've got solo episodes planned, guest episodes, maybe even a few dramatic readings from my notes app if you're lucky. And I want you to be a part of it. So send me your stories, your plot twists, your am I crazy or is this gay moments. This space is for us, the ones who live boldly, break softly, and come back swinging. So yeah, that's where I've been. I've been off living a plotline I didn't know I needed. I've been evolving, expanding, shedding, becoming. I'm Dana. I'm your host of this podcast and now officially a graduate. I graduated, not just from college, but from cycles, from confusion, from shrinking myself to fit people who were never hungry for all that I am. I walked across that stage, but listeners, I also walked away from anything that drained me, from anyone who mistook my softness for weakness, from any version of myself that forgot who the hell she was. I am not the girl who started this journey. I am the woman who survived it, who smiled through stress, who romanticized the mess, who made poetry out of pressure and plot lines out of pain. But I'm back, baby. A little bit hotter, a whole lot wiser, and absolutely unhinged in the best way possible. So genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for giving me space. And thank you for being a part of this plot. As always, our mantra is take what resonates, leave the rest. And here's your reminder, you don't have to know the ending to tell a damn good story. And now, welcome back to the pod. We're just getting started. But for now, let's wrap this episode up. If you're enjoying my podcast, don't forget to rate it 5 stars because it not only lets me know that you enjoy listening, but it also helps my podcast get boosted so that I can reach a wider audience. Follow at Stirring the Plot Pod on all social media platforms to stay up to date and never miss an episode. If you'd like to connect with me, I am just at Dana J. Francois on all social media platforms. I will have everything linked in the show notes. And with that being said, if you like listening, make sure that you subscribe to my podcast and tune in weekly. Because I'm gay, I'm hot, and if there's one thing about me, I'm gonna stir the plot.